Welcome to part 5 of our workshop series, How to Support Neurodivergent Thinkers, provided by Western Washington University. Thanks for joining us. Today, we're going to chat about burnout prevention and self-care. In the last session, we talked about daily tasks and routines and how those can be especially difficult for neurodivergent folks. And so in this session, we're really going to explore strategies for burnout prevention and self-care to make some of those routines and tasks a little bit easier. So first, we're going to define burnout and give you some of the symptoms so you can be on the lookout for symptoms of burnout as they may pop up for your neurodivergent thinker you are supporting. So burnout is extreme exhaustion and a sense of being overwhelmed caused by prolonged periods of intense stress and overstimulation. I will add to that some of the things we've been talking about all along in this workshop series, dealing with ableism, dealing with internalized ableism and some shame that can come with that, and just generally trying to mask to get by in a neurotypical world. All of those things can really contribute to burnout for folks. So some of the symptoms you may observe include fatigue, some physical symptoms in terms of just like tightness in the muscles, general feelings of exhaustion, executive functioning and cognitive difficulties, which are already challenging sometimes for folks who are neurodivergent, which we'll talk about in a future session. Some emotion dysregulation, also already a little bit more of a struggle sometimes, but can get even worse when somebody is experiencing burnout, sensory sensitivities, and difficulties with social interactions and communication. And we talked a little bit about communication and social interaction in a previous session. So what you should note as a supporter is that all of these things become even more challenging potentially when somebody is experiencing burnout. So I want to share something that I thought was mind-blowing in the best way. And this is from a resource called neurodivergentinsights.com. And it is a clinician who is a neurodivergent person who also works with a lot of clients who are neurodivergent. And she talks about preventing what she calls a boom and bust cycle. So the basic idea here, as you can see on this graph, is that it would be really ideal to kind of keep a steady level of spoons, which we talked about in the last session. So spoons, again, is just kind of a way for us to think about the amount of energy we have on a day-to-day basis. So in an ideal world, we'd be able to kind of predict and use the same amount of energy to get through our lives in a steady way. Doesn't exactly work that way for most of us, I think, but especially for those of us who are neurodivergent, in that we might, especially with some conditions, have some really good days where, because we feel like we maybe have a lot more energy or a lot of spoons, or we're working on something that we're really interested in, that hyper-focus thing that we've talked about, we might expend a lot of energy kind of all at once. Or maybe we feel shame, like we should be doing more, or we're feeling like we need to catch up. But what happens with that, unfortunately, is that we expend so much energy that then we tend to crash. And so you see that our activity level can really bottom out over time. And this is another way, really, of describing burnout. And so what is recommended is to think about pacing systems as a way to prevent this boom and bust cycle, and how really good targeted self-care can also help with that. But let's first talk about these pacing systems. So these are all just variations on a theme. I'm actually going to start with spoons theory because we've already covered it. This tends to be the one that I can conceptualize the best, but it's basically, again, the idea that, we have our day And we start with a limited number of spoons. And this theory was specifically developed for people who have chronic illness or invisible disabilities. So this idea that by looking at us, you might not be able to tell that we have maybe more limited spoons than other people, but the fact is that we do. So activities are going to deplete those energy units or those spoons. And so because we only have a certain amount of those each day, we have to allocate them wisely. And so that's kind of a fun general analogy to think about. So if I'm thinking about how many spoons it takes to do a certain activity, but I know I only have this number of spoons left, how can I budget accordingly? And so the energy accounting system is a very similar concept, but it tries to get a little bit more specific. So this was developed by an autistic advocate, and it really serves as a tool to kind of communicate our experience of, managing what could be limited resources with a diagnosis such as autism. So it's akin to balancing a checkbook. Each activity is assigned an energy cost, and you balance your checkbook accordingly. So there can be really detailed ways of sort of balancing that checkbook and accounting for one's energy as part of this pacing system. So if somebody's a little more numerically or detail-oriented minded, this might be a really excellent pacing system for them to try. Another one that we can talk about is the green light, yellow light, red light system. And, for those of us who maybe aren't so down with the numbers and balancing an energy checkbook doesn't feel appealing, this might work better if you're more of a visual person. So basically you categorize different activities. So red light activities are high energy expenditure tasks. Yellow light activities are medium to neutral activities. And then green light activities are restorative and recharging. So within this system, you identify what are red light activities for you and ensure that you space them out and intersperse them with yellow and green light activities. And then you carefully monitor the number of red light activities you engage in within a given day or week. So what I appreciate about this especially is that those green light activities are likely things that we would categorize as self-care, which is what we are going to talk about next. So these pacing system ideas might be helpful to share with the neurodiverse thinker in your life, and you can find this article at neurodivergentinsights.com. But let's talk about some self-care and some fun self-care things you might encourage or actually do together with the person that you're supporting. So you see some examples up here, reading books, watching entertainment, playing some games. Video games can be a really lovely activity, particularly for neurodivergent folks for a variety of reasons, spending time with other people or with family, cooking, listening to music, the list can go on and on. And so we talked about body doubling in the last session, which is this idea that you can help your person you're supporting do certain tasks by doing it alongside them. I think this is another example where body doubling can be fun. Like if you are doing a self-care task, inviting the person in your life to do that with you could be a great way to encourage those green light activities or those self-care activities that can be replenishing and fun at the same time. Okay, so some other self-care or spoon replenishment or green light activity ideas can include movement, with the caveat, as I mentioned last session, that physical limitation or chronic pain could potentially interfere with this category of activity. However, movement and exercise can be especially helpful for those with ADHD in particular. Mindfulness and meditation can also be a replenishing strategy. And I know for many people I work with, and even for myself, sometimes typical meditation can be a little bit difficult for my brain. And so for a lot of people, incorporating kind of visual elements to meditation or even doing something physical like taking a walk while meditating can be really helpful. And so that's something that you can try. And there is a lovely video from How to ADHD, or I'm sorry, from Attitude Magazine about how to meditate even with a busy ADHD brain. So there are resources out there specifically for neurodivergent folks about meditation and supporting that. We're going to talk more in our next session about sensory support and soothing. So stay tuned for that particular workshop. And as we talked about last time, activities of daily living, or ADLs, are also self-care. So sleeping, eating, and taking care of physical health and hygiene, those can be considered self-care activities. Again, recognizing that some of those things can just be a little bit more challenging for a variety of reasons for your neurodivergent person you're supporting. So keeping that in mind, but also supporting them in those daily habits. And then finally, what can also be really helpful is getting support from others. You could be that other. Thank you again for being here. And maybe getting a little bit of assistance in advocating for your needs and for accommodations that can make your day-to-day life easier. So that, my friends, is what we are going to talk about in our next workshop together. So I hope you join me then. In the meantime, be well, WWU, and hopefully we'll see you soon.